Good morning, and thanks for joining me. I'm Deacon Randy, and I'd like to tell you a story about this cross that's mounted on the fence behind me. The story actually begins with dogs, and our family had dogs for most of our family life. For many years, we had a West Highland Terrier, a Westie named Maggie, and we all loved her. When she died at age 16, I suggested that we take a dog break, just for a year or two. Well, guess what? Within 24 hours, my wife and youngest son, then a college student, brought home a new puppy, a rescue dog, a cross between a lab and something else. A beautiful dog, actually. The idea was that our son Keller would take him off to college in a few weeks. Well, when the time came, Keller went to college and the dog stayed home with us. His name was Buddy, and he was a faithful and affectionate dog, one that just loved to sit on the sofa beside you with his head in your lap. Buddy had an affinity for woodwork, and he would chew on furniture, doors, and window frames, an appetite that proved to be very expensive. Like many dogs, he was very frightened by thunderstorms and by firecrackers on July 4th. At one time, running away through an unsecured gate in the backyard, only to be found the next day 2 to 3 miles from home. He loved going on long walks with me, but at the sight of another dog, he would bolt and strain at its leash, almost throwing me to the ground. He weighed about 80 pounds. One afternoon, he got loose again and was struck by a car on Walnut Grove Road. Along with our friend Richard, who loved Buddy about as much as we did, we soon found him and took him straight to our veterinarian, who found that his spine had been fractured and a leg was broken. The prognosis was that he would never walk again and would have to be carried anywhere he went. We made the painful and emotional decision to euthanize him, and this was done by our vet in the back of my SUV, with my wife Linda Kay and I lying on either side of him. We brought him home and prepared a grave site just adjacent to where I stand right now. Our friend Richard had stayed with us, and he wrapped Buddy in a blanket that he had brought for the occasion and helped us lower him into the grave. The three of us together read a modified version of Right to Burial Office from the Book of Common Prayer. And then we cried together. I know, it's a sad story, but now comes the good part about the cross. Another close friend, Jim, who was an expert craftsman, made this cross for us to mark Buddy's grave, and for years it stood at the head of the grave. Recently, however, we decided to mount it on the fence, where it would be a visible reminder not only of a beloved pet, but also the presence of Jesus in our midst. It's also called a budded cross, referring to the shape of buds on its arms. The 3 buds representing the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Its shape is a kind of a hybrid between the standard Latin cross and a Celtic cross. And in ancient times, the 3 buds were thought to signify the virtues of faith, hope, and love. I sometimes wear a cross around my neck, one that had been given to me by a clergy friend at my ordination. It reminds me that I am a child of God, and also that Jesus calls us to take up our cross and follow him with acts of love and service. I also keep a handheld wooden cross in my car. It also reminds me of the call to servanthood. And when holding it, it helps me resist shouting expletives to all those rude and crazy drivers in Memphis. For me, this particular cross represents friendship and love, and a connectedness to all of humanity. It was made by caring and loving hands as a gift to us in a time of despair. This cross serves as a reminder that the love of small animals is pleasing to God, and that their companionship is a gift from God. This cross is an indication that church is not necessarily in a building, and that God's love and mercy can be found anywhere you really look for it. May God go with you and keep you safe.